Hey guys, it's JJ. Welcome back to the Laredo State Dynasty, where we have just won a conference championship game. In my opinion, against all odds, we were 6-3 in conference, and somehow we're tied with 4 other teams for the lead in the conference there. But we got chosen from our half of the conference to play in that game, and we did win. Resulting in the loss of our defensive coordinator, who's going to join the Colorado coaching staff. Now we're going to offer a certain Miles Johnson, and he did accept. He's from Louisiana, so maybe he'll give us a little bit of a pipeline boost there. Base 4-3 is the correct scheme, so I'm probably going to keep him around for a little while, even though the East Texas pipeline would also be good to have. But first, we're going to go through the season that we just finished. And we started out with 2 very tough wins against opponents that we should not have won against, and then a shutout against Southern Mississippi. And then we lost to Auburn. No surprise, Auburn was by far the better team, the better roster, and they won handedly. And then we kept losing when we slid into the conference schedule. Appalachian State, Sam Houston, 2 tough games. We were able to pull out the win against Louisiana, against Texas State, and UTEP. For some reason, we again knocked Texas State off when they were leading the division, and they didn't even make it back to the top at the end of the season. And then we had a very nice run at the finish line there. We win against Tulane in the conference championship game, and we beat out Central Michigan 38-7 in the Camellia Bowl. So all in all, a pretty successful season, even though I did not expect us to win a conference championship game there. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the playoffs, where Ohio State beat Iowa to go to the next round. Charlotte was playing in the playoff, and they lost to Texas. Florida State lost to Clemson, and K-State beats Troy, who then they move on and lose out to Pittsburgh, who won the ACC. Washington is the winner of the Pac-12, and they lose to Clemson. Tennessee barely wins against Texas as the winner of the SEC, and that also was a rematch from the conference championship game, which also Tennessee won. Michigan wins against Ohio State, and then they move on against Tennessee. Pittsburgh wins against Clemson, and then Pittsburgh also beats Michigan in the national championship game. Let's talk a little bit about this number on the season, like the individual season stats. Wayne Estrada had a solid season, 2,748 passing yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 picks. That's a solid number. 58% completion percentage. That's not great. 5.8 yards per attempt is pretty horrible, actually. But we're hoping that's going to get better next year. I also blame our receiving core for the parts of those numbers. It's just not a great situation. And then Tavares Cerdeno led the team in rushing after John Suarez's injury in Game 3 of the season. He was done, and he is still injured. I think it was a torn labrum. But Cerdeno had a solid season, didn't quite make it to 1,000 yards, but he only had, I think it was 10 or 11 games of starting. So it's quite tough to reach that, especially if you're just a receiving back. And yeah, about the other running backs, nothing special there. We had the usual power back with a few touchdowns and a couple other receiving backs. Jaquez Lera, just like last year, leads the team in receiving, but not even close to what he was a year ago. I don't know how he regressed that much, but he still had almost 800 yards and 9 touchdowns. Vela was actually the number 2 receiver, 482 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rivera had 464 yards and 4 touchdowns as a tight end. Very solid play from him. Machado, 447 and 5 touchdowns. And then Cerdeno had quite a few receptions in the passing game as well. The lead running back there. And then for the defense, Dave Santos, 119 tackles on the season with 15 TFLs. He's just a monster. And then the second leading tackler on the season was actually a corner. He looked really solid too. Calvin Leyva led the team in TFLs. Ronaldo Sanchez had 21. Valdez had 19. And then it's already Santos ahead of the other defensive tackle there, Vasquez. For sacks, Calvin Leyva had 19, which is a crazy good number, especially for somebody that didn't play in the playoffs. Emmanuel Valdez actually managed to get to 14.5 sacks. He had a very quiet start to the season, but then at the end he ramped up his production. Ronaldo Sanchez had 11.5 sacks. That's pretty good for a defensive tackle. Vasquez had a solid season. And then even Castillo, as a middle linebacker, blitzed quite a few times, and he did get 3.5 sacks. David Santos had 2.5 sacks. The big disappointment is actually, what's his name? I forgot his name. The other defensive tackle, the fourth guy, he didn't have a single sack all season. But he's forgetful, since he didn't have a single sack all season, then never had to call out his name. Brian Alonso, the only corner on the team with 2 interceptions, or actually any player, and that 2 interceptions, that's not even that much. But since he was not targeted a lot, that's okay, I'd say. I'm pretty disappointed in all the other corners and safeties for that matter. Our secondary is definitely the Achilles heel of this team. Ronaldo Sanchez also forced 3 fumbles, which leads the team and also was pretty good nationwide. We have Dave Santos forcing 2 fumbles. That's pretty good number, pretty good numbers here. Leading tackler, 15 TFLs, 2.5 sacks, an interception, and 2 forced fumbles. That's some pretty great production. And yeah, that's it for forced fumbles. Nothing spectacular there either. Now, leading the country in sacks was actually Jacob Smith in our conference, the edge rusher from the University of Kentucky with 21, but Calvin Leyva came in second. This statistic is for the entire nation. I checked all the other conferences. There is no other player that had more than 18 sacks besides Calvin Leyva and the Kentucky kid. Now, let's check the team stats, as we did not have a great passing attack. In the Sun Belt, we were down toward the bottom, below average. Not horrible, but not great either. I did focus very much on the run for the first 6 games of the season, so the stats are kind of skewed. If this were passing yardage per play, that would be a lot better, I think, compared. We just didn't have the volume in the passing game. We did, however, have the volume in the run game, which is why we led the conference in rushing yardage. 25.1 points per game in the Sun Belt is not a great stat line, but it's also not horrible. We had 25 passing touchdowns. That's actually towards the upper part. It was sometimes hard to run the football down in the red zone. But we did manage to get 17 touchdowns. I expected with our rushing yardage to have a few more though. But we still finished in second, tied for second with Sam Houston. First downs, well, I mean, if you're running a lot, you usually don't have a lot of big plays, and you make a lot more slower, you produce a lot more slower drives with longer possessions, more first downs. That's why we led that category. For defense, we actually did have one of the better defenses in the country, even though our secondary was pretty horrible. The front 7 looked pretty sharp, and pretty happy about that number. Just like I said, we did have a horrible passing defense. We're 3rd worst in the Sun Belt, and that's just the Sun Belt. Imagine if this defense had played in the SEC, man, we would have gotten torched left and right. We did have the best run defense in the Sun Belt, and it's not even close. It's not even like just a couple hundred yards. It's like 400 yards less than the second best team in the conference. So great stat line there for us. For points allowed, this defense did rank pretty well. 238 actually should be second best. Yes, second best in the country. Only behind Kentucky. That defense looked pretty sharp as well. The best defense in the conference. For sacks, we had the most, not just in the Sun Belt. I think this, I don't think I cut a clip in, but I think we had the most sacks in the entire country, not just the conference here. So 62, that's a hard line to beat if you're having 2 great edge rushers on the team. Fumbles recover 8, that is actually pretty solid. Usually my teams don't do that well. But at least for fumbles recovered, but this time around we did pretty well. Interceptions on that defense, however, not great. It's just we don't have a great secondary, and also it's not gonna change next year. We're not gonna have a surgence of great players that just were hidden. This secondary is gonna be like this next year too. For the third down, we had the best third down percentage in the Sun Belt. We also had the best fourth down percentage in the Sun Belt. And I think I want to believe that this is why we won the conference in the end, because this is how you make your money. You win on third down. You get to 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 all the time, and then it's so hard to stop you. Let's just not get caught in bad third down situations. Now, red zone efficiency, on the other hand, that is another story. 38 touchdowns on 64 tries is not great. For the defense, only allowing 15 touchdowns on 39 drives, that's even worse for the opposing teams. So I think our defense has shown that they can carry us to wins and eventually a conference win as well. But the offense still has a lot of work to do. Turnover differential, we had +4. I think that's fine. That's nothing crazy. Rice had +15. Kentucky had 9. So there's still room for improvement, but at least we didn't give the ball away a lot. We also didn't take it away a lot. So that's why that number is just so average. Now let's take a quick look at one record we broke this season. Kelvin Leyva and his 19 sacks. That is going to be a Laredo State season record. Sadly not for any conference or nationally, but 19 sacks, that is a pretty good mark, and I hope he's hopefully gonna get even better next year. Now let's take a look at the awards. Heisman winner is Trey Purcell for Washington. He did win it in the end, even though he didn't even get to any important game there in the semifinal or the national championship game. Player of the year is Eli Holstein for Pittsburgh. That makes sense since he won the national championship game. Head coach of the year is going to be Tennessee. They won the SEC. Best quarterback is going to be Eli Holstein. I don't know why Trey Purcell is only 3rd there, but wins the Heisman. Best defensive player, we have Kelvin Leyva and his 19 sacks, beating out Emmanuel Valdez and Jacob Smith. So 3 Sun Belt kids up there on the top, and then Ronaldo Sanchez also made it into 8th. But what a season for Kelvin Leyva, looking unreal. I hope he can continue this. He's only a sophomore after all, so he still has 2 more years of eligibility. Maybe he can break a career record for this team. Best defensive back, Brian Alonso, the only one to make it. No surprise there. He is the only actual good player on that defense. He was pretty much blanket coverage all season long. I do not expect that to change. I hope he gets a little bit of off-season dev and gets even better, but still one big weakness is our secondary, even though we have him on the team. He does help though. Best running back, well, I mean, our lead back got hurt in game 3, so we were never in contention for that one. Best receiver in the country, well, we have horrible receivers, so we were never in contention for that one either. Best defensive lineman of the year, well, I mean, if he wins best defensive player of the year, obviously Kelvin Leyva is also going to win best defensive lineman. Valdez in 2nd with his 14.5 sacks. Ronaldo Sanchez in 5th. Great story there. Now, we're gonna skip ahead to the next award, which is the Unitas Golden Arm Award, Best Senior QB of the Year. We had one senior quarterback. He played 1/2 of football in the bowl game, so obviously he's not gonna make this list. Best defensive end, well, if Leyva wins Best Defensive Player of the Year and Best Defensive Lineman of the Year, he's also gonna win Best Defensive End of the Year. No discussion there. And Valdez, close second behind him. So I hope this continues. Well, I mean, Valdez might declare for the draft. He's an 89 overall, so that's somebody to watch, something to watch out for. But if he comes back, I hope we're hopefully going to have an even more productive pass rush next year. Best tight end, Rivero actually should have been in consideration here. He had a very solid season. Best linebacker, Dave Santos. Obviously, he had to make this list, man. Santos is unreal. Kid is awesome. He's also high enough of an overall to maybe declare, but he's also a sophomore, so I'm hoping he's back and lead this defense next year. Best center, well, I mean, this O-line isn't great. Best kicker, well, we didn't kick it a lot. Best punter, well, I mean, we don't have the greatest legs there. And the special teams, we don't have great speed on returners. Now, for the All-Americans, obviously nobody made it to the national first team, which is kind of shocking because we had the best defensive player of the year. And so somebody has to tell me why he would not make this list. That doesn't make any sense. Instead, it's going to be a Kentucky edge rusher, but not the one that actually hit 21 sacks. So don't know what that's all about, but nobody on this team. The only player I recognize here is free safety Jaden Patterson from North Carolina, and that's because I have a North Carolina Dynasty where he's also the starter with his 99 speed, 98 acceleration. But he's going to be done in this Dynasty. He is a senior. For the second team, it's going to be Eli Holstein at quarterback, and yet again, nobody from our team. Not enough for Kelvin Leyva to have 19 sacks and get to a team from the All-Americans here. But can't do anything about that. We're just going to have to skip ahead and take a look at the freshmen, because that's always... I started a lot of freshmen last year, so there's always somebody, but playing in the Sun Belt also doesn't give you the best chance of playing great competition and earning this reward here. So on offense, there is sadly nobody here, and on defense, nobody made it. I actually am kind of sad about that. Well, can't do anything about it. It's just how it is. Let's skip ahead and go to the conference. Sunbelt All-Americans. Let's see, who do we got? We won the conference. There has got to be somebody. And right off the bat, it's going to be a lot of Kentucky players here on this list. But we do have the tight end of the year, or the All-American first team tight end here in Juan Rivero. Isn't that exciting? Somebody else I recognize is Kylan Evans, the receiver from Texas State. He was pretty good. And then, well, two Kentucky edge rushers. Still no Kelvin Leyva. At least Ronaldo Sanchez from our defensive tackles makes it on this list. But look at how many Kentucky players are on here. It is unreal. No kickers, no punters. Let's skip ahead to the second team, where we have a couple more players. Tavares Cerdeno at running back made it with his 951 yards, and I think it was 6 touchdowns or something. From the receivers, I recognize David Washington from Kentucky. We have Rocky Maris make it as the left guard. He's our best O-line player. And then Calvin Leyva still not good enough for the Sunbelt second team. But Adrian Silvestro made it. That's the guy I was looking for earlier. He was the guy with no sacks, 0 sacks, and he makes this list. But Calvin Leyva with 19 sacks can't. I cannot believe this. Dave Santos as a linebacker, Brian Alonso as the corner. Those are our best players on those levels. No surprise. For freshmen, we did have a few starters, but look at this. All 3 Louisiana receivers are on this list here. That is ridiculous. Enrique Marrero made it as the right tackle. Silvestro as the defensive tackle. Still can't believe that he didn't have a single sack this year. That is... Jesus Cabral makes it. Pena made it. Both of those didn't really play that much. Pena actually did quite a bit, play quite a bit, but Cabral barely, like a backup who plays special teams and stuff. But both our punter and kicker made it, so that's great. Now, graduation is here. We only have one player that's a senior. It's Miguel Epinesa, who is a 72 overall and will not be drafted. Definitely 6'1", 191 out of Houston, Texas. Epinesa did play 1 game. We started him in the second half of the bowl game this year. Epinesa is a East Texas kid out of Houston, 3-star scrambling quarterback who had a lot of room to grow under his caps. He could have been one of our best players if he had grown those caps. He could have been drafted. He had a lot of room here. but he never developed into anything. He did have a solid bowl game there, so happy about his performance. He did have 125 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He took 2 sacks, he had a 75% completion percentage, and had a 7.8 yards per attempt. Nice season, or a nice game for him. He didn't do anything else. He didn't run a lot in that game or anything, and he obviously also did not get drafted. So the draft results page is a quick nope and out of here for us this year, and I hope we will be back next year with our first ever drafted player, Brian Costanzo. We're gonna go to National Signing Day because I did not recruit anybody in the offseason, and we have an elite dev running back. We have a star dev receiver. We have another elite dev receiver, an impact dev tight end impact for our tackle. D'Imperio is gonna be the guard. He's a star. Orlando has impact. Our 4-star edge rusher only has normal, that's sad. Our 4-star defensive tackle also only has normal, that's sad. Parizo, Isadora, nothing special at linebacker. Tyler Trejo, I wanted to get him, but we didn't. And then we have 2 crazy good corners, a star dev 5-star and an elite dev 4-star. That is ridiculous. And then 2 impact dev safeties and a 2-star kicker that I only signed because our kicker only has like 79 kick power and we need an upgrade. For top classes, we are number 22 in the country. This is a very small recruiting class, which only has 18 players, so I think it's a very good class. We just didn't have the volume to like crack the top 10 or anything, but it's a very solid class. 1 5-star, 8 4-stars. We can do something with that. Now, for position changes, we have Matthew Gutierrez. He's a quarterback that's maxed out at 77 overall, a 4-star quarterback at that. I'm going to put him at running back and hope he develops at least a little bit, and then switch him back to quarterback. Jaquez Lara is a receiver that is also capped, or skill capped, or maxed out, I guess. I'm going to put him at running back and turn him back to receiver after training. Same thing goes for Johnny Machado, another receiver that I'm turning to running back and then turn him back into a receiver after training, just so they can get a little bit better at that. Same thing here with Emilio Vela, also maxed out, our slot receiver, and I'm gonna turn him back into a receiver after training. Taylor Rosas, same thing. He is on the verge of being cut, so that's his last chance. He's also skill capped, so if he develops well, I'm going to turn him back to receiver. Same thing goes for Chris Cardoza, also on the roster bubble, I guess. If he doesn't develop a little bit, he might be on the cut list as well. And there is one more player I'm doing that with. It's Eric Bazania. So I think in total, this is like 6 receivers, or maybe even 7. That I turned into a running back for training, and then I'm gonna switch him back to receiver. And then we have a middle linebacker here in Jose Castillo, that he is maxed out at linebacker, but he is gonna make a great pass rusher. His blitzing skills are absurdly good, and he's gonna be staying a full-time edge rusher. I will not turn him back to a linebacker because he doesn't have the athleticism I'm looking for. Now, Carlos Aguilera, he's a corner that doesn't have the athleticism I'm looking for, so I'm turning him into a safety. That is going to be a fascinating arrangement, hopefully. And he is already our second fastest safety on the team with that. Anthony Carvajal, he is a safety that I'm going to turn into a linebacker because he doesn't have the athleticism that I want at safety, so he's going to be a linebacker. And then George Cabral, same deal here. He's not fast enough to be at safety. He's never going to play at safety for us, so I'm going to turn him into a linebacker. And all those moves on the defense are permanent. They are not going to go back to their old positions. And just like that, we are at training results. And right off the bat, Wayne Estrada moves up +7 overall. He's now an 85. And that is some seriously exciting news. At running back, not much development for our running backs. At this stage, I had already converted all the receivers back to receiver. so they're not on this list. But Cerdeño and Suarez and Herrera were all at the same overall there, so nothing's going to change in the running back room. And then big news, Taylor Rosas is now an 84 overall receiver. We have Vela at 83 overall. Those were all capped receivers. Machado turns into an 82 overall receiver. Lara, he stays at 81. He didn't develop at all in the offseason, so now he's not the number 1 receiver on this team anymore. Arellanes was a true freshman last year. He did get a +3. Esponda +1. Cardoza did get a +6, so he saves his career here with a good offseason boost. At tight end, no major changes. Tight ends are mostly capped in this game anyway. Trey Bavaro, I think that's a +2. Maris has also a +2 at left guard. The 4-star backups didn't really develop a whole much. Palacio is a +7. Cordero, I think he didn't develop at all. I think he's still an 84. And then both Castellanos and Marrero get +5. On the defense, we have Valdez, Stale, and a 90 overall. Castillo turns into an 86 overall edge rusher, and he's gonna stay there. He is unreal, and I'm gonna be so happy to see him play there. And then Calvin Leyva, he did get a little boost. He's now an 86 overall. That's a +2 for him. And then we have Sanchez. I think that's a +1. Calcaterra got a little bit of a boost. I think that's a +2. Silvestro didn't get a boost. He stays at an 83. Vasquez still an 80 overall. So no major movement along the D line except Jose Castillo. And then Anthony Carvajal is now an 82 overall linebacker. And we have Jesus Cabral also with very good development. And then Dave Santos, 89 overall. That is a +4 overall boost. For the other safety turned linebacker there, George Cabral, that did not work out as much, but that's fine. At corner, we didn't have much of a development. Santiago Rodriguez is, I think, a +2. Pena is a +2. And Cardoza stays the same. So no major dev there. At safety, we have Alves still at a 68 overall. He has elite dev. I had hoped he would have gotten a massive boost, but not happening. At strong safety, no major devs there either. Aguilera got a +2. That's nice to see. And then at kicker, we did get a very nice boost for Velasco. So he is now 89 kick power. Did not see that coming at all. And now we have 17 players to cut. Mostly they're going to be 3-stars from back in the day that have never developed, such as Alejandro Sendejo. Never going to play. There is freshmen on the team that are already better than him. We're going to continue with this. There's junior quarterback here in Canonico, who also will be cut because he is just not good enough and he will never play because there's freshmen that are better than him. Bazanez, the one receiver with the lowest development at running back, is going to be cut. He's also not good enough as an athlete to stay on this team. So sadly, Bazanez has to go. John Nunez, 67 speed at tight end. I do not think so. I know the tight ends in this game are usually not that fast, but 67 is that's even bad for an offensive lineman, dude. So you gotta go. James DiMercado, he's a junior. He has only 1 season to develop, and he's 12 overall behind the 8 ball. So he's going to be cut, 71 overall, just not good enough at all. And goodbye. At right end, we have a Tyler Alves. He's a sophomore, and he's already behind 2 juniors, 2 freshmen that are better than him. So he's never going to see the field ever. So Alves is going to be gone. At linebacker, we have an Aguayo. He is technically the highest rated overall right linebacker, but he has only 78 speed, and he is not heavy enough to play edge rusher, so he is gone. Strong safety, we have Nick Correa, 85 speed, 78 overall, maxed out. He is also done, not going to play anymore, and he also was not heavy enough to turn into a linebacker at 6'1", 198. That's not linebacker material, so he is gone as well. Steve Garcia is a kicker that I'm going to cut because he's not good enough anymore, and I also was gonna gonna cut Velasco, but for some reason he now has 89 kick power out of nowhere. So I'm gonna keep him for now. We have a punter here in Escobar that's never gonna play again because he is capped on his kick power, and Martino is better than him, and he is 1 year younger. Now, second round of cuts, we're gonna go back to running back. Ramon Laredo, only 88 speed, hasn't developed a whole lot. There's a freshman that's better. There's two freshmen that are better than him, so Laredo has to go. Jamie Lopez, 74 overall as a junior, not good enough. He's a good athlete, but he's never gonna play. There's a bunch of freshmen and sophomores that are better than him, so Lopez, he's gotta go. Eric Gonzalez is an edge rusher with only, I don't know. He's technically a sophomore, but he is never gonna play over somebody like Javier Yolito, and he's almost max as well. Centenio, 65 overall freshman. I know he's a freshman, but like, dude, seriously, 65 overall? Couldn't you have like gotten a +5 boost to 70 or something? Not good enough. Let's cut him. And then at right end, there is an edge rusher. He is actually a pretty solid run stopper, and he started for us last year with that 88 block shit. But he can't do anything else, and I'm fine with cutting him. We will take a little bit of a hit in run defense, but I think that's fine. I wouldn't have wanted to cut potentially really good edge rushers instead of him. Now, Tony Cordero, technically our best safety. 85 speed is not good enough. He was a liability last year, and he would be again this year. He's never gonna play again, and he also was not heavy enough to turn into a linebacker, so he's never gonna play at safety. Now we're gonna cut a quarterback at the end there, Miguel Alonso. He also was not good enough and would have never played. And then I did a division, or the conference realignment. This is the realignment that I also did in my UNC Dynasty. That makes geographical sense. The ACC is all the Indiana, Tennessee, Kentucky teams with West Virginia. The ACC is going to be Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. The Big Ten is going to be only Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And I split them up into all the Michigan teams plus Wisconsin and Toledo, and then the other 8 Ohio teams on the other side. Big 12, that's going to be our division. We're going to play in the Southeast, and then there's the Northwest. It's all the Texas teams and the 3 Oklahoma teams. And we're going to play all the good Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston teams from around that area. Conference USA, that's the New England Conference, Pennsylvania, and everything east and north of Pennsylvania. Then Notre Dame is the one independent team. Then we have the Mid-American, which is actually gonna be the Mid-American Conference. Iowa, Kansas, Minnesota, Nebraska, the Illinois teams, and I think I forgot a couple states there. Doesn't matter. Mountain West is actually gonna be the Mountain West. So Arizona, Nevada, all the teams from Colorado and Utah. Pac-12, that's gonna be all the Pacific teams. So Hawaii, all the California teams, and Oregon and Washington. SEC is going to be all the Florida teams and all the Georgia teams. And then we've got the Sun Belt at the end. And we have left that one behind are staying all the Louisiana teams, all the Mississippi teams, and all the Alabama teams. I split it up, 6 Alabama teams in the one conference plus Southern Miss, and in the other division it's going to be the 5 Louisiana teams plus Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Now let's take a look at the roster, all the important players that are going to be playing this season, and we're going to start off with lefty quarterback Wayne Estrada, 6'3", 187 out of Richmond, Texas, a former 3-star recruit, an improviser with very good elusiveness, has now 96 deep accuracy, 93 throw on the run, 86 short accuracy. Very solid quarterback. Still at 87 throw power, but he still can get better, and he still has 2 years ahead of him. Still one more offseason to even get better even after that. Our freshman 4-star quarterback, Brian Costanzo, is going to be redshirted, but I still want to show him off. 5'11", 212 out of Wiley, Texas. Costanzo has 92 throw power. Solid elusiveness, The accuracies are solid to start out with, but he's never gonna get better. I got so unlucky on this one with the skill caps. Jeez. He can run, definitely. Can run a little bit, but he is so capped. I don't think he's ever gonna be like a 90 overall. John Suarez, apparently still injured. He didn't get any off-season boost. I'm guessing that's probably because he's still injured. He also didn't have much room to grow, but he's gonna be a lead back this season again. And I don't know. I'm actually thinking about turning him into a receiver because he's really good and he is fast. Jeez. Tavares Cerdeno. He actually did get a +3 overall boost, I think. Cerdeno looking real sharp. 4-star recruit back in the day as a receiver. He's now a very good receiving back, very solid short and medium route running. He's still at 71 catching. It is ridiculous. But he did not fumble last year, so hopefully he keeps it up. 85 break tackle, 85 spin move, 86 juke move, that's fine, and lots of speed. Pretty happy with Cerdeno as a number 2 back. A change of pace back. Nick Vasquez is still gonna be the power back, 6 foot, 232 out of Plano, Texas. Former 3-star recruit, and he's still gonna do the exact same thing as last year. I think he did have a +4 overall jump, but that's still not too much. He's a solid running back with some good power, decent elusiveness, and 87 speed, 88 excel. Still a solid player. Carlos De La Rosa, he's our 4-star recruit from last season. He's going to be redshirted this year as a true freshman. De La Rosa, great caps. Very lucky on him. He also has elite dev. I'm going to be looking forward to him a lot. But he's just not quite ready to play yet, especially that power needs to get a lot better. But next year, I hope he's going to be ready. Taylor Rosas is actually going to be the lead receiver on this team. 5'9". At 5'9", very small receiver, but he's obviously still maxed out, but now he's an 84 overall maxed out. His route runnings are very solid. He has pretty solid hands, just an overall average receiver, I would say. Not quite sure how he's going to handle a Texas or Oklahoma team, but he has 90 speeds and some very solid route runnings to go along with that, so I'm happy with him as a number 1. Emilio Vela, he's still going to be the slot receiver. Against all odds, the 85 speed receiver. I can't believe that I'm still playing him, but he has developed into a very solid receiver with 94 catching, 99 spec catch, and 90 catch in traffic. He's our best pass catcher, and he, again, against all odds, is staying on top of this roster or this depth chart with his horrible speed. He's just a good receiver. You can't deny it. Jaquez Lara. He was the number 1 receiver last year. He is not going to be at 1 this year. His caps actually have gotten better now after the switch back to receiver. I don't know how that happened, but he's gonna be like a number 3. No, he's a number 3 outside receiver. He might play a little bit here and there, but he's never gonna get the volume back if he doesn't have a lot of off-season dev next year. Joshua Arellanes. He was redshirted last year, didn't play a single snap. 6'4", 214 out of Manvel, Texas. The former 4-star receiver has had a solid offseason, and his route runnings are still not great, but at least he has good release, he has great hands, and crazy good elusiveness. Do not know how he did that, but at 91 speed and with those route runnings and also the release, he's going to be our number 2 outside receiver, and happy with that. Now, we did recruit Manuel Reynoso last year. 6'4", 191, basically the same exact build. Not quite as lucky on his skill cap, sadly, but he's going to be redshirted this year anyway. He's not ready to play. He's not good enough at the moment. But the kid at 6'4", with that athleticism, I'm very much looking forward to seeing 93 speed on a 6'4" receiver. Juan Rivero, he is still the lead tight end. Nothing changes about that. 6'3", 231 out of Stephenville, Texas. He's a blocking tight end, and he's not great at that, sadly. but his hands are pretty good. And at 77 speed, I mean, he's never going to be a crazy down the field threat, but he can move the chains, and he knows it, and he does it well. He didn't have many drops last year, and I'm pretty happy with what he has done. So let's keep at it. Left tackle is going to be still Trey Bavaro, 6'4", 285 out of Georgetown, Texas. Bavaro is a solid pass protector and a solid run blocker and nothing else. Actually, that pass block finesse makes me a little bit uneasy. Makes me feel a little bit uneasy. But he's a solid athlete. He can hold his own. He's not going to be the best tackle ever, but I'm happy with him. Rocky Mares is now still our best offensive lineman. Mares is almost maxed out at the moment now too. He is a very solid pass protector and a very solid run blocker. Like, those ratings are so solid. 88, 87, 87 for run blocking, and then 87, 88, and 83 at pass protection. So Maris, no doubt about it, he's going to be very reliable. Manu Palacio, he did not start last year because he didn't have any offseason left last year, but he did have this year. +7 overall for Palacio, and look where it got him. Palacio is a decent athlete, not crazy good or anything, but he can hold his own in the run. His pass protection is very questionable, but for now he is going to be the starter. I could pick other players over him, but he's an actual center. I also recruited a 4-star center in the last season. Didn't get too lucky with the skill caps there on the pass protection, but overall he has a lot of room to grow. His pass protection is solid right off the bat. 85 strength is decent, but the run blocking is horrible. So he's probably going to be riding the bench for a couple years before he starts. Manuel Cordero, 6'2", 323, a massive human being. This dude is, he didn't really get much better in the offseason, sadly, but his pass protection is already elite. I'm pretty happy with that. He doesn't have too much power at 82 strength. That's not great. And he did get put on his butt a lot last year. He did get pancaked from some defensive tackles, so that's not great. But he's going to be the starter. He's going to be okay. Enrique Marrero is still going to be the starter at right tackle. We technically have one tackle that is one overall better, but Marrero is by far, it's not even close, the better pass protector by far. And the run blocking is actually comparable. So I actually have no idea why Castellanos is one overall better than him. We're going to start Marrero. And then I also recruited a 4-star tackle last year that is going to be redshirted this season. Shakir Angel. Angel is a pretty, I don't know, a pretty average player, honestly. This does not scream 4-star player to me, honestly. It's a decent pass protector right off the bat, but that strength needs to get up there. On the defense, we have Emmanuel Valdez, 6'4", 269, a massive dude with crazy athleticism, 88 power moves. I cannot believe that he didn't get better this offseason. Not even 1 point. That is ridiculous. He has so much room to grow. He could be like a 95 overall now. And instead he still is hovering around 67 finesse moves, but he's 90 speed, 90 XL, crazy good strength, and 88 power moves. I hope it shows up this year again too. Jose Castillo, he's the winner of the offseason, and he's still the loser of the offseason, because Castillo, while he did have a very solid jump, he now has 87 finesse moves and 85 power moves. He is not as good an athlete as Valdez is, and so I'm still going to be starting Valdez. Might see a little bit of a run defense snaps there against Valdez. Calvin Leiva, 6'4", 228. He's a very slim edge rusher, but he has 85 finesse moves and 88 power moves, and therefore is our technically best pass rusher, along with 94 strength at that size. It is just utterly ridiculous. 79 block shedding, got a lot better in the offseason too. I think that's where he put his points in. I'm so looking forward to seeing Calvin Leiva dominate again this year. And then I also recruited a 4-star edge rusher in Manu Maldonado. I recruited him as an outside linebacker, but he has the power rush archetype, and that 82 power moves looks pretty solid right off the bat. But he's not ready as a run stopper at all. 69 block shedding is just not good enough. 70 finesse moves. There is no reason he needs to play this season. He is going to be redshirted this year, but I'm looking forward to seeing him in a couple of years, maybe even next year. One thing that I completely forgot to mention: Valdez didn't declare. That's something that completely slipped my mind. Valdez stays, so we're gonna have him next year, but he can still declare early next year again. Ronaldo Sanchez is gonna be our defensive tackle number 1. He's a solid run stopper with 84 power moves and 76 finesse moves. Not a liability, great athlete, looks solid. Ben Calcaterra, he is actually gonna be a full-time starter this year. 6'4", 292, he's a 3-star prospect, but somehow he overtook Adrian Silvestro. He's a great pass rusher at 85 power moves and 79 finesse moves. That is really solid at defensive tackle, but here is his calling card. He is a great run stopper. And along with that power, actually not great, but 79 block shedding against the other defensive tackles we have, he looks really solid. Now, Silvestro has one trait that's gonna benefit him greatly. He's an awesome run stopper. 84 block shedding, I think, is the best on the team, or the best from all the defensive tackles. But this dude, he didn't develop at all in the offseason, and he's basically limitless on caps, and he still is, like, he doesn't even have one moves skill that's like an 80, and even 80 wouldn't be great. That dude really needs to do some thinking. Eric Vasquez, he's also gonna see partial snaps, but probably not gonna see too much. Silvestro, I forgot to mention, he's not gonna play on passing down, so he's not gonna play much. Vasquez, probably same for him. He's not a great run stopper, but he might see limited snaps against the pass. Now, this kid is a true freshman that I recruited last year, Jose Pujade. Pujade is a very solid finesse rusher, no power moves at all. That's just a horrible part of this game, and 69 block shedding. Also not crazy, but he's a 4-star. He's going to be redshirted. We'll see him in a couple years. Anthony Carvajal, 6'2", 214, out of Katy, Texas, is actually now one of our best linebackers. He was starting free safety last year, and he has now 90 zone coverage, 72 man, 92 catching at linebacker. Are you kidding me, dude? You're gonna see this dude on passing downs, definitely. He also has some serious hit power with that size. That's pretty crazy. He's a solid athlete at linebacker, at least. He was not a solid athlete at safety at all, but at linebacker, 85 speed is actually fine. So you're gonna see him. Jesus Cabral is a pretty big linebacker, an actual linebacker with great run stopping skills, but no pass coverage at all. So he's gonna be the starter at left outside linebacker in base personnel. Not a great athlete, but the run stopping is definitely gonna show up. Best linebacker on the team is, after all, still Dave Santos, and he did get an offseason boost. 6'1", 221 out of Louisiana. Santos is a solid pass coverage guy with some solid hit power, some really good finesse and power moves, and the run stopping is very solid as well. 91 speed, 92 excel. Kid looks absolutely ridiculous, so I hope he declares next year. He needs to go to the NFL, man. He's sadly skill capped as well. Brian Alonso, best corner on this team. 5'11" dude, former 4-star recruit. He still has lots of caps to grow on. 88 overall. That's the same as last year. Still a great man cover corner, but also still a solid zone cover corner. He does have the silver blanket coverage and the silver wrap up, which means he's still going to be a blanket coverage guy with very solid run defense. Santiago Rodriguez is going to be the number 2 corner on this team after Alonso. 6', 199. Santiago Rodriguez still not the greatest athlete, but he does have enough long speed. He's solid in man coverage, but for some reason his zone coverage is even better. I do not know how that happened, but 88 zone coverage, I'm not going to complain. along with 92 speed. That's good enough as long speed for now. Jamichael Pena, he's going to be the number 3 guy, 6'2", 170. And Pena is a former 3-star recruit who's going to be the number 2 outside corner. Rodriguez now is going to be moving into the slot, and we'll see him there. Pena, very solid in man coverage. Zone, not as great. A little bit worried about him, but the secondary is our weakness. At least Pena does have 90 speed and 90 XL, so that's solid. And then we have Manu Cardoza. He's the dime corner. He's going to play inside in dime personnel. 5'10", 185, very small and slender corner with good man ability. 79 press is actually solid. He won't need it, but 73 zone is not great. I hope that a little bit of his run defense is going to show up. He's just not a great athlete, and he also did not have any offseason dev, so that's not great. Mateo Alonso, 5-star recruit, our first one, 5'11", 205. Alonso is hopefully the brother of Brian Alonso. And Mateo Alonso, right off the bat, 82 zone coverage, 60 catching, and, well, I mean, that man coverage is nothing special. But 74 press, 70 man coverage. He's not ready to play, so he will ride the bench. Sadly, his athleticism is capped, but at 97 speed, that is good enough for me. He's going to be redshirted next year, not going to play, but we'll be seeing him next year. Manny Aquino, 6', 178, out of Houston, Texas, a former 4-star with elite dev, is also going to be redshirted because 74 man, 69 press. That's not great. 60 catching is not great either. And then that 69 zone coverage is absolutely abysmal. But let's see what he can do in training next year, and maybe we will see a massive jump, hopefully. Starter at free safety is going to be Carlos Aguilera, 6'2", 177. It would have been Elvis's job, but Elvis did not develop at all, even though he is elite dev. So now it's Carlos Aguilera's job. 65 zone coverage. We will see some busted coverage this year again. There is no doubt about it, but we just do not have the personnel in the secondary. And we will work on that again next year. 89 speed is actually more speed than we have ever had at safety for a starter. Ben Alonso is going to be there, dude. He played half the season last year. And Alonso, I mean, that 71 zone coverage is not going to make me feel a lot safer. But at least this dude has some solid speed at strong safety there with 90. That's actually even more than Aguilera, so at least we won't have the athleticism gap there at safety this year. The coverage bust's probably going to be still there. Jesse Velasco is going to be our kicker. I wanted to cut him because he was not good enough, and somehow, out of nowhere, he has now 89 kick power. I can't believe it. So he is going to play this year, and next year we're going to have to cut the 2-star kicker, I guess. 89 kick power. That's solid. Can live with that. Let's move on to the punter, which is going to be Nick Martino. Don't know why I'm showing those throw. Don't know why I cut that in with throwing stuff. That doesn't matter. Nick Martino, 6'1", 220, out of Cibolo, Texas, is a former 3-star recruit with 89 kick power. Still the same dude as last year. Didn't get any offseason dev, and does not matter to me anyway, because the only thing that matters is kick power. 89 is maxed, and it's not going to get better, but it's solid enough. He's going to play out till his senior year. And then after that, we're going to get a new guy, and with that, we're going to move on to preseason All-Americans, as we are not going to have anybody on a national level, but we're going to see Trey Owens, that dude, that quarterback from Texas. We're going to see him. Can already tell you that one. And then don't recognize anybody else from this list, honestly. Oh, there is an Oklahoma dude, Jaden Jackson. We're going to face that dude. I don't think we're going to play Oklahoma this year, but we are now in one conference with that dude, so that's not exciting at all. And then is there anybody else? No, not that I see on this first team. Let's move on to the second team, as I don't think we're going to see anybody else there either. Maybe one of our edge rushers. Well, probably not. For the second team, well, I mean, I do see that guy, Javier Casas. We're going to face him as well. That's not going to be fun at all for us. Then there is another Texas dude at defensive tackle. We're going to see that guy. We're going to play Texas this year, and they are one of our rivals. So I hope this team shows up, but we'll see. It's gonna be a home game. Don't recognize anybody else. Does not matter to me then. Let's move on to the Sun Belt. Or now we're in the Big 12 now. And it's just filled up completely to the brim with Texas players. The quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and then there's a receiver from Oklahoma that also made this list, Ivan Carrion. I think I did have him. No, actually not. I misspoke there. 3 more Texas dudes make up the interior of the offensive line. We have that defensive tackle again. We do have the middle linebacker, Dave Santos. Can't believe that's happening. And as you can see on the screen now, we are ranked for the first time ever. We're ranked number 25 in the preseason. Can't believe it, man. But the entire All-American team here is filled out with Texas players. They even have the second, the preseason second team quarterback because the first one was not enough. We have a running back here, actually. That is kind of surprising to me. Rocky Mares makes it as the left guard. We have an edge rusher in Emmanuel Valdez made it. Still kind of shocked that he didn't declare. And now he didn't even have any offseason depth, so it didn't. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you not declare and then have no offseason dev? That is just ridiculous to me. But okay, whatever, dude. Bunch of linebackers, defensive ends, and corners again for Texas. And let's take a look at the schedule. Already mentioned Texas, but we're gonna start it off with Central Michigan. Now you're gonna say, oh well, we played them in the bowl game last year. Why did you schedule them again? Yeah, I forgot. This schedule is actually randomized. I randomized the 3 teams we're gonna play, and Central Michigan was one of them, and I didn't realize until it was too late. Stanford is the other one, and Boston College is the third one. So that's gonna be some tough opponents. Conference play is going to start with SMU, then Texas, then UTSA, Texas State, Sam Houston, Rice, Baylor, Houston, and Texas A&M. So the only new teams that we're going to face this year in the conference, I think, are actually going to be Texas, Houston, and Texas A&M, because everybody else we have faced in the last couple of years again. So that's going to be fun, but a lot more challenging than what we did the last couple of years, playing all these great teams that are from Texas. But it's going to be fun to play against all these Texas teams all the time. That's going to be, I don't know. I'm really happy about it. And as you can see, we are ranked for the first time ever, even though it's just the preseason. I'm fine with that. First time ever. And I hope we can be worth it. Texas is ranked number 4, so that's not going to be fun at all. But, oh yeah, and then Oklahoma State is ranked number 10. They're also in our division. Or not in our division, but in our conference in the other division. And then who else is there? There was Texas Tech at 16. Saw them. Yeah, they are. I think Texas Tech is in our division. We're definitely going to play them at least this year. So this is going to be a lot tougher than what we had last year. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe for more Laredo State Dynasty. See you in the next episode. Until then, have a great day.